When Richard Ramirez painted a pentagram on the wall of one of his victims' homes, it was no different than Picasso signing the Weeping Woman painting. I mean, are these quirky things that you see at crime scenes a signature of the predator? Or do they just make sense and provide the offender with the assurance that they will successfully escape prosecution? Let's talk about modus operandi and signature. Welcome back to Profiling Evil. If you're new to the channel, thanks for joining, and thanks to my university students and longtime channel members. Welcome back, and thanks for your support. Either way, folks, I hope you'll take a minute, hit the like and subscribe button. Now let's talk profiling. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, terrorized California residents during the mid-1980s. This killer terrorized more than 30 people, killing 13. He was convicted in another 5 attempted murders. Criminologists have wondered for years if he committed more murders. Chances are that he did, and the crimes were never linked to the killer. This segment's going to explore the difference between modus operandi, it's called M.O. on TV and other places, and signature. Simply said, M.O. are those actions that are taken by an offender to successfully commit a crime. It's things like using the concealment of night, disabling security cameras, or wearing gloves to reduce the risk of leaving fingerprints behind. Signatures are those goofy things that an offender does that often don't make sense to us, but they make perfect sense to the predator. Like a dog marking its territory, predators are often compelled to do strange things to memorialize the event. It could be something as simple as taking an object from the victim or leaving something behind. Well, that's a little bit on signature. Now, let's explore these phenomena a little more closely, starting with MO, or modus operandi. MO will point to an offender's practical actions during the commission of a crime, and they can reveal clues about the criminal's experience, skill level, and motivation for the crime. These actions can be very dynamic, and they actually will be modified as the criminal learns from each crime. There are 3 purposes of modus operandi, and students of this segment should consider the way that the suspect first approached the victim or the location of the crime as they think this through. Now, this information may be uncovered by questioning the victim of the crime. For those in the true crime community, you and me, our access to this information is somewhat limited, and it may be just things that we pick up as we read the paper, listen to the news, or socialize through the true crime community social media accounts. Now, when the crime is a property-related crime, such as a burglary or theft, your information may also come from examining the crime scene. Modus operandi could be formulated as part of an opportunity, a pre-planned event, where there's a blitz-style attack or a deceptive approach, often called a con. When the victim is a person and not a piece of property, you might discover more about the offender by examining the behaviors leading up to the crime, rather than focusing on the gruesome details of the assault alone. Now, both are very important. If the offender approached the victim in a legitimate circumstance, was there deception or trickery involved? Think about Ted Bundy and the way that he would approach some of his victims. Do you recall how he would fake injuries or express the need for help from someone? He'd use that to disarm them. Well, then, when they least expected it, he would violently attack them and gain control over that individual. Bundy's style causes me to reflect back on the Capitol Hills rapist case in Salt Lake City, Utah. This predator's common attack style was an immediate physical attack, a blitz that overwhelmed and usually resulted in complete compliance by the victims. This rapist would surveil his victims for weeks, sometimes months. Once he had enough familiarity with their habits, and in my opinion, once his fantasies and his sick emotional foreplay were no longer good enough, he would quickly assault them as they entered their homes. Brandishing a knife and working with blinding speed, he would subdue his victims and then assault them. Now, let's discuss the deceptive approach as part of this modus operandi. In these circumstances, the offender would likely pose as an authority figure, a business person, for instance. An example might be even a fraudulent modeling agency that photographs potential victims with the claim that they're going to promote them. During the photo shoot, the perpetrator would become more deviant in his modeling requests and in some cases may even forcibly assault the victim. Other examples of this may be the offering of a ride, interviews for employment, money, treats, implied family emergencies or illnesses. Convicted serial rapist Michael Blake Jensen often used his position as a fire marshal to forcibly assault his victims. His favorite targets? Single or divorced mothers whose children were suspected of arson events. He would offer to walk away and forget the case if the woman would just have an interlude with him, a tactic that later proved to have worked many, many times. If the suspect initiates contact with the victim by means of a surprise, it's important to determine what the type of approach was that was used. Did the suspect lie in wait outside of a building, or perhaps were they inside? Was the suspect waiting in a vehicle, or did the suspect surprise the victim while they were sleeping? If the suspect began with immediate physical force, what was the manner of the force? Threats, hands, weapons, what was used? Was the victim choked, stabbed, shot, those kinds of things? Most of these tactics would fit into the category of MO, modus operandi. So I want to repeat my simple definition of what modus operandi is. It's that behavior which is considered necessary to successfully complete the crime and avoid detection. Signature, on the other hand, is behavior that goes beyond the actions necessary to successfully commit a crime. It, too, can tell us a great deal about the offender's identity. When an offender goes beyond the actions necessary to perpetrate a crime, his signature is reflected, demonstrating an expression of ritual based on the offender's fantasy. Unlike MO, the core of an offender's signature will not change. It can, however, evolve because of interruptions or unexpected victim responses that don't match the fantasy. A signature crime exhibits characteristics that point to certain criminals. Now think of Richard Ramirez's pentagrams. These aspects, behaviors, or characteristics are indicative of the offender's personality and their fantasies. They fulfill a psychological need and, unlike MO, don't change very often. Well, I hope this segment helps you better understand MO, modus operandi, and signature. It should help you better understand how important it is in the overall investigation, and it'll help you better understand other principles that we're discussing here in the Profiling Evil Academy. If you like this video, please consider clicking that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it if you do. Ring the bell so that you get all of our videos like this one. And remember that Profiling Evil can be found on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you like podcasts, you can check us out on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget the web at profilingevil.com. Well, thanks for supporting us, and we'll see you soon at the next crime scene.